In the last video, which was a very quick overview of the Roman civilization from the beginning to its end, we mentioned the foundation myths of Rome and hinted that how a group sees its own creation can tell you a lot about what it values. Just as a review, two brothers, Romulus and Remus, sons of Mars, the Roman god of war, and descendants of a Greek hero Aeneas, were abandoned by their mother, saved by a she-wolf, and raised as shepherds. What I didn't mention was that their mother was the daughter of a king, and, through a drama not out of place in a soap opera, Romulus and Remus were in line to inherit the throne. The twins were impatient, however, and decided to found their own city. After a fight over where the new city should be placed, Romulus committed fratricide and killed his brother Remus. After murdering his brother, Romulus set about expanding the city, and soon Rome was bumping into its neighbors around them, most notably the Sabine people. Romulus ordered the capture of their women, as Rome's population was mostly male, which led to a war and the assimilation of the Sabines into Rome. Assimilation is when one group absorbs another into it. This was Rome's first conquest, and it sparked Roman expansion along the Italian peninsula, where they defeated the Etruscans, the Samnites, and many other tribes. Every group the Romans encountered and beat was assimilated into Rome, but to make the transition easier for these groups, the Romans would often take some of the local beliefs as their own, or combine them with their own ideas. This sharing and borrowing of cultures is known as acculturation. The next big push was against Carthage, a trade-based organization that rivaled Rome in power and wealth. During the Punic Wars from 264 BC to 146 BC, Rome expanded into Spain, then into North Africa, eventually destroying Carthage entirely. The Romans continued to spread around the Mediterranean, first to what is now Spain, then Greece, and the Balkans, then Turkey, France, the Middle East, Egypt, Morocco, Germany, and finally Britain in 43 AD. Rome did so well by constantly keeping the focus away from domestic problems and instead on conquest and glory gained by defeating barbarians, who were groups the Romans thought were uncivilized by their standards. The island of Britain sat at the very edge of the Roman world and was so far from civilization that some Romans didn't believe it existed at all. That was all put to rest when an invasion was attempted twice by Julius Caesar in both 55 and 54 BC, and basically failed both times. The invasion in 43 AD was primarily for glory, as the Emperor Claudius had weak control over the government and very little political support in Rome. His reasoning was that if he succeeded, he would be better than Julius Caesar and no one could doubt him, and the war would unite the Roman people against more barbarians. A force of 40,000 Roman troops, half legionnaires and half soldiers from the far edges of the empire, landed somewhere, we're not sure where, in southeast England, and the Britons did not attack immediately, which let the Romans get a foothold on the island. The Britons had many different kingdoms and tribes who never worked together, and saw the Romans as a way to gain an advantage over each other. In his book Agricola, Roman historian Tacitus said, "Our greatest advantage is that they do not act together. While they fight singly, all are conquered." Tacitus is actually fairly complimentary of the Britons, saying that they exhibited spirit and possessed boldness in challenging danger. Unfortunately, this spirit was not enough to overcome the well-disciplined and well-equipped Roman legions who landed in Britain. After the initial invasion, the Romans pushed northwards towards what was then a fortified village and what would become the British city of Colchester. The army surrounded the city and Claudius himself entered. And apparently he was on the back of an elephant. After this triumphant victory, the Romans pressed onwards and eventually conquered most of present-day England and some of what is now Wales, although that proved significantly more difficult to conquer than they had hoped. The Roman governor set up relations with some of the tribes in the area, turning them into client states, who swore loyalty to the Romans and were able to keep much of their rights as independent tribes. Unfortunately, the new Roman governor went back on the promises the previous governor had made, which caused a lot of problems with one tribe in particular, but that's the story for the next video. Okay, time for some discussion questions. Number 1. What does the Roman foundation myth say about the culture of Rome? How do you think it influenced Roman expansion? Number 2. What do you think happened next in Great Britain?